Hello, 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 and welcome to Lead with LeAnn, your definitive guide for exceptional leadership and successful entrepreneurship, airing every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv. And there we go. Get rid of the video. This is a live show if you can't tell. So if you're expecting perfection, you know, just sit back and relax, take a breath, because you're not going to find perfection here, but you are going to find real, true, authentic women talking today. I'm your host, LeAnn, and I'm thrilled to be sharing this journey with you. And each week on Lead with LeAnn, you'll join me as we delve into the inspiring stories of established leaders and innovative entrepreneurs, and we'll uncover just what it takes to build a brand from scratch, lead with authenticity, authority, and grace, and turn business aspirations into tangible success. Our show is not just about imparting knowledge, it's about creating a community and a space for us to laugh and learn and leap forward together in our quest for professional and personal growth. Whether you're embarking on a new entrepreneurial venture or just looking to inject some fresh energy into an existing one, there will always be insights for you here. So get ready for thought-provoking conversation, enlightening insights, actionable advice, and the support of a network that truly champions the win-win philosophy. Today, my guest is a trailblazer with a unique blend of American freedom and Chinese tradition. As a first-generation American with Taiwanese roots, Carol's diverse upbringing has shaped her into a compassionate and driven entrepreneur. She's the visionary behind, love this name, MotoVixens LLC, a motorcycle track day organization that champions exclusivity and inclusivity, not exclusivity, inclusivity and education in the sport. Go figure. MotoVixens, inclusivity. Got it. Carol's journey from pre-med to business and motorcycles showcases her courage to follow her passion, making her a role model for women in all industries. As a mother, a mentor, and an advocate for change, Carol believes in making a difference together. Carol, are you there with me?
I'm here. Sorry, hang on.
There she is.
Hello.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't say this in the introduction, but just an absolutely amazing human being. I loved when we first met. I'm so excited this day has finally come. So good to see you.
Oh, you as well. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And your bio, well, like I had to shorten it a little bit. So what would you also highlight from what I didn't say?
I have several other companies as well. So I have a media company, Iron Dog Media, and I have an advisory company called Selenian Strategy Group as well, and two other companies that are in development. So we're just going to keep them, in the background for now.
Be still my heart. Another multipreneur. Yes.
And the funny thing, LeAnn, I never thought of ever becoming an entrepreneur. That was not how I was raised. I mean, my family was very much, you get a really good job, you get a great education, you get a good job, and you stay at that job, save as much as you can for retirement, and then you retire. And that was my game plan from, the day I was born. And look at what happened.
And you went to medical school.
I did.
You were
I
on
went
your
to med.
way to that really good job.
Yeah. But then my mom passed away and that changed my life completely. So when you're driven to do something and you're encouraged by your parents, and really the Asian culture basically is, they tell you, there is no option. They tell you what your profession is going to be. And I was good at math and science. And so therefore I was going to be a doctor.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And at what point, I mean, you said that this happened. How old were you when that happened?
My mom passed away around the time I was 19, 20-ish. So she was 47 years old. She's very young. And, and she had been struggling with cancer for quite a long time. So
Mm.
for me, being a doctor, I felt like being a doctor was what I was meant to do because then I could heal my mother and I could have her longer.
Right, very real. Since the last time we talked, I came across another doctor who also left medical school. Have you heard of Casey Means?
No, 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 no.
Oh, definitely check out her book. I
Okay.
saw her and her brother. She dropped out fifth year Stanford Medical.
No way. Okay. And she became an entrepreneur, I'm assuming.
Well, more or less. I'm just a quick plug because I really believe in this book and what they're doing. But she and her brother, who's an MBA, what happened basically is she was in the operating room looking at this woman, about my age or younger, actually, I think in her 40s, who had like four different massive things going on in her body. And Casey just realized she couldn't fix it. She's like, I can fix this one problem, but I have no reason. Why is this woman so sick? And, and she just started digging into that. One of the studies that she and her brother found was that um, I live in Minnesota, land of General Mills, and, Lucky Charms is actually healthier for you to eat than an egg. Did you know that?
Oh my God, no.
Studies, according to the studies, 93% of studies that are backed by a, corporation find the way the study was supposed to go.
Hmm.
So they did a study on how much better nutrition you get out of a cereal box than you do from a egg, which we've been eating forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Kind of skeptical on those results, but
but so yeah, so she and her brother went on to write a book called Good Energy, and like you, they lost their mother to also, this is another reason, they lost their mother to a very treatable cancer had it been caught. But she was seeing so many different doctors who had so
yes.
many different diagnoses that nobody put two and two together to realize that she was diagnosed and died within 14 days.
Yeah. By the time they figured out what kind of cancer my mother had,
Yeah.
it had spread to her brain.
Oh,
And, once it goes through your lymph nodes in your brain, you're done.
yeah.
And it,
Sure.
it was a matter of time. And when it got to that point, it was not very long.
Yeah. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you.
But there's and I realize it's been a while now, but the pain never goes. You
It's
lose
so
somebody.
interesting just even talking to you at this moment. Like, I think those emotions are over and it's funny what happens.
Yeah. No. There's certain days of the year when I'll feel gloomy and I'll be like, okay, let's review. And I'll figure it out that there's some tie back there. So take a
Yeah.
minute, grab a sip of water if you like, but
Oh, no, we're good. We're good.
it's okay. So
Oh,
there's metabolic disease, though, is essentially what she came up with. She just said it's, we have a real problem. It's called metabolic disease.
yeah.
And metabolic disease is behind everything. It's behind diabetes, it's behind obesity, it's behind heart issues, it's behind ADHD and autism and everything, she said. So it's a really innovative book. Really, I bought it on Audible and hardback just so I can really, really focus.
Yeah. And
But
I'm all into like alternative health,
yeah, and
right?
it would
And
probably go there.
yeah, and for me, I have a very firm belief that everything that, we need to heal us as human beings is available in nature. And,
Absolutely.
and to me, and that's the way I grew up, the Asian culture is very much about acupuncture. It's about taking herbs. And if you've ever been to an apothecary in Taiwan, I mean, you've got just jars full of dried all kinds of things. And some of it's kind of scary when you're a child. You're seeing dried seahorses, dried antlers, you're seeing dried all these things, and they grind it up, and that it's part of your, like, quote unquote, your tea that you drink, right? But everything, yeah, everything we need is here. And one of the things that I love is, and I don't get paid for this, by the way, is hyperbaric chambers,
Oh,
because
yeah.
inflammation is a source of a lot of diseases. And so,
Also metabolic condition.
yep, yep, yep. So, I started using one at a facility and then eventually bought one. So I have one at home now.
Yeah. Well, you should check and see if they have an affiliate program. Why
Yeah.
not? I mean, for real, on my website, which is
Yeah.
all business, it's all business tools, business connections, business. But if you look in the upper right-hand corner, there's a lifestyle
Yeah.
link. And the things that I do, the people I believe in that have helped me with my health, I switched to a completely whole foods eating program on September 3rd of this month.
New.
Yeah,
New.
just
Yeah. Okay.
so we're talking 20 days into it today, and yeah, inflammation down, sleep better, everything. Just everything is changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of a whole foods, but a whole foods, the whole 30 concept on
Oh,
steroids.
okay. Gotcha.
Even more limiting than the whole 30. But yeah, very interesting. And but as health is, I mean, if especially for us multipreneurs, you know, if we don't have our health, you know, not one business is in trouble, but all businesses are in trouble.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also having systems in place. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have, good assistance and good, how do I put this? And I can't even think of the word right now because I just went through an emotional thing here.
Yeah.
Um, I, I have really good people and developers behind me as well. So I don't feel like if I have a bad day or I'm sick or whatever it may be, I have a team
Yeah,
that, can back me during that time. So I feel really lucky to have developed that and cultivated that over the years.
for sure. And
Yeah.
and we have to. You absolutely have to. And really, realistically, I was just on a webinar this morning. I'm considering creating an app.
Mhm.
And it basically the app that I'm looking at, the group that does them, it's seems very reasonable. But they said, look, this should be the engine for your business,
Mhm.
which can drive everything else that you're looking to do. And that's the whole thing with systems. Systems are the engine, and engines work whether or not you sometimes even understand them. I mean, I can't change my oil, can you? You
Yeah.
probably can.
No, no, no. I
Nope,
hire
nope.
people for that. Yeah, and I same thing. Lucky to have people in my corner. My boyfriend happens to program, and he actually created an app for one of my businesses,
Okay.
and he streamlined that completely. And we did that. Whoops,
I
we
just
did.
got lower.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? We did that during a trip that we had taken to Taiwan, and we were literally on our way back. We had a few hours, and we actually started that whole process then, and we have since refined it to what it is right now.
Very cool. Wow. Yeah, it's kind of a new concept, but it makes sense. I mean, apps, I mean, everybody, you check your apps more often than you check a website. It's
Yeah.
faster. If you have the app, it's easier to go to. And there's a lot of tracking and, keeping up with where people are at and how they're doing. And that's pretty brilliant.
It depends on how it's set up too, right? It depends on what your needs are. It depends on, what you would like to see on it, what its capabilities are. So there's a lot of things that go into play. So you got to kind of really be focused on what you really want out of that app, right? And then the developer or the coder will tell you if it's a possibility. Not
Yeah.
that anything isn't a possibility, it just gets more technically difficult
Yeah.
to do, right? There's a lot more little things to manage at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about one of your more interesting
Oh boy.
businesses, which I mean, they're all interesting, and I want to dive into the multipreneur part of it too, because entrepreneurs by ourselves, we're a minority anyway. On my what when I talk about my summit, I say 41% of people think about owning a business, 9% do. But of the 9%, yeah, right? 9%.
Well,
So of the 9%, though, the proverbial wisdom out there is focus on one thing, do one thing well. And so I have to believe a lot of that 9%, maybe 90 of the 9%. So are really focused on doing one thing really, really well. And then I think there's us.
Yeah, but you got to start somewhere, right? I mean, you got to
Yeah,
do
right.
one thing really well, get that completely solid and functioning on its own. And then you can move on to the next one. And then it's just a little bit like potato chips. Or for me, it's like riding bikes. You just keep getting more.
So let's talk about the bikes. I want to hear more about MotoVixens.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Well, how did you get into it? How did you start biking?
I was in the midst of a divorce when I decided to go get an endorsement. And I had no desire, literally, to even, at that point, there was no desire to have a business or anything. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do after I was divorced. And ended up getting my endorsement. Next thing you know, I fell in love with the sport completely. And just like anybody, I think that is an entrepreneur, you don't half-ass anything. So chances are you're going to go, oh, well, I don't want to just be okay at this. I want to be pretty good at it. So I went to a lot of schools, track schools in California. I took Rich Oliver's flat tracking course. I've done Colin Edwards's, boot camp as well, where you get to ride and shoot at this, on his, I would call it a compound, but I wanted to get good at it. And when I found that I was okay at it, I would have to struggle with it a little bit. I wasn't naturally gifted as a rider. I didn't even drive a manual car. So trying to get the concept of shifting in gears was completely new to me.
Uh-huh.
And like RPM management, all that kind of stuff was completely new to me. So I enjoy puzzles, I guess. So I figured it out, love doing it. And during that time, that was about 12 years ago, there was not a lot of women in the sport. And I thought, wouldn't it be really cool if we could bring more women in the sport? And that's actually how it started, but I hadn't developed the company yet at that point. It was a desire and a passion because I wanted to share that with other women.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you think about I have a black belt in Taekwondo, and the way that sport spreads is kind of the same. Everybody starts as a white belt. Everybody starts as a white belt. But as you move forward, by the way, only 1% of people who get their white belt, who walk through the door, end up with a black belt.
Wow. Okay.
1% of first degree black belts
Yes.
get their second degree black belt.
So my boys growing up, I put them in Taekwondo
Yes.
and I said, we needed something for discipline. Two boys, like, oh my God, wanted to pull my hair out.
Yeah.
But they both went through it and they became second degree black belts because my deal was if I'm taking my time to do this, then you're going to do it 100%.
Absolutely. Both of my daughters are black belts, my husband. So
Wow.
all four of us have first degrees. I blew out my knee on my night before testing for my second, but I still plan to go back. It's
Yep.
actually part of this journey too.
Yeah.
Like, I know that I'll be able to get back into the sport when I'm not carrying quite so much inflammation and so forth. And so I want to get back, but the sport itself thrives off of those people, those elite people. 1% of two of second degrees get their third, 1% of third degrees get their fourth. I mean, it gets really, when you're getting into fifth,
It's
sixth,
really finite. Yeah.
really like pay a lot of respect to somebody who says they have, especially any higher degree black belt, because it's rare.
Yep. The
Yeah.
dedication, it takes is incredible. So that takes commitment.
Yeah. And what you're kind of saying is that we get really, really good. We get a black belt in a business, then it's, going on up. And so I think we're a little rare and unique that way too.
Yeah, and I think too, if you take the lessons you've learned through one business, and actually that's how Iron Dog Media came about,
Yeah.
was everything that I learned because I wasn't an entrepreneur. Just I was not. I like to call myself, and somebody told me not to, but I like to call myself the accidental entrepreneur because I truly believe it happened by accident. And sometimes there are things that we do in our lives that we don't plan on, but they find us, and we have to kind of step up to, take the reins and do it. Because maybe that was our calling to begin with, Who knows,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. And a couple of times when I've struggled, my husband and I have talked, and I've been ready to throw in the towel. Fine, I'll go get a job. Fine, I'll get, I did get my substitute teaching license back last year, just because, well, maybe just a little here and a little there, but the days that I was substitute teach just trashed my business, and I'm
Yeah.
sure it set my entire business back. But there's also times in business when you do just step back and have a little pause, have a little rest. I'm doing that right now. I have I didn't tell you this, broken ribs, broken foot. Yeah.
What do
Um,
you do to yourself to cause all these bodily injuries?
I went boating.
Okay, I don't even want to know how boating led to broken ribs.
Yeah. Well, anyway, a very slippery rug while
Oh,
going full speed. Yeah, it was fun. So, I'm in a pause physically as well, and which is putting a opportunity to pause in my business a little bit too, and revamping new assistants and really rethinking, like, do I need an app? What do I need to pull out? What do I need to put in? What am I still missing? And just reconfigure, like retool. And I think that's important for business as well. How about you? Have you had times like that?
oh yeah. I look forward to the times where things kind of ratchet down a little bit. Like my spring summer with my own events for the track and my boyfriend that races, and it is literally like one gigantic mad rush. And this last weekend was the last of his races. And this is a little plug for him. He broke a track record for himself on Saturday, and then he broke his own record on Sunday again.
Oh, how
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, yeah. So he ended it on a high note, and we all want those kinds of days, but I love to see him succeed, and he feels very much the same about, helping me succeed too. But it is such a mad rush that you don't have time to think, right? And I look forward to the fall and the winter when things start to die down. Now, my other businesses don't die down, they actually ramp up,
Yeah.
right? But because I have systems in place for those businesses as well, it allows me the time then to do little things like I have been planning on writing another book this fall winter, and structuring it around motorcycling and the lessons I've learned, right? So those things don't have time to grow in your mind for creativity until you have that pause. If you don't have a pause, you don't have time or space for creativity.
Yeah.
We need it. I love those things because that you get to draw a little bit more on your left brain, right brain, right? Because we're constantly doing the logical portion of it. It's nice to be able to like touch the other facet of your brain, which is very creative.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, it's been I don't like to, I don't naturally pause. I'm naturally a push and go, go. So it's been, well, I mean, I've had the broken foot now for 5 weeks, and it's probably only been the last week or week and a half where I've suddenly said, I'm actually okay. I'm okay with this, and I think it's some of the changeover of assistants and things like that. Like I realized I just couldn't, the new people need my attention, and we need to figure out each other and move forward. And then I thought, okay, so I'll cruise through September and I'll get going October 1st. And in my faith journey, and I'm praying, and I kind of heard this like, no, no, not quite so fast. And I'm like, oh, really? So now my pause in my mind is going to be through October, allowing for November and December to get ready for what's coming in January. So there's just plenty of time. It's
Yeah.
just that laying the foundation, or
You have to,
relaying the
yeah,
foundation.
you have to allow the time, but you have to be conscientious about planning it and
Oh,
scheduling. Because for people that are constantly on the go, we don't make that time.
yeah.
And so I tell people all the time, really sorry, but you have to be on my schedule. Otherwise, I don't know when I'll get to talk to you
Yeah.
because I think, oh, my next week is clear. Give it 3 days, it's booked. And
Yep.
so I want to make sure the people that I really need to spend that time with, I block the time for them, and that includes my friends.
I, I was just going to say the same thing. I have four friends they have planned times that we talk,
Yeah.
whether weekly or every other week or whatever it is, but I block the time because they're important
We
to
need
me.
that. We need that for ourselves because they help nurture us, right? They fill our cup to allow us to deal with really difficult situations because you have these friends that support you, encourage you, and motivate you.
And it's so easy to let it slip away.
It
I mean,
is.
so easy.
It is. That's why if they're that important to you, you make the time.
Yeah, it is. And there's ways to do it. I mean, you can make the time if their schedule is flexible, you can quote unquote make the time by putting it into your calendar, whether or not. Of course, if I block 30 minutes of my time and I call and they're busy, it's frustrating because
You can text each other, right? I mean, we have technology, which is incredible. And, like I have a girlfriend that we tried to do this and we'll eventually land on another day, but we're planning on doing weekly hikes together so that we would be able to connect while we were exercising and grab a bite to eat, and literally like help each other during that time frame. And I love going for hikes up here. So we live in Seattle area, right? Washington, and I live in Olympia. And we have a lot of beautiful trails in nature. So it also then gets me outside and not on the computer all day long.
excellent. Yes. And in fact, I've each even reached out to friends when I was doing regular walking, not hiking so much, but walking at least. I'd say, hey, who wants to go on a walk with me on the phone? Like we can each
We
take
could
our
totally
own,
do that. Oh yeah,
we
absolutely.
can be on our own phones, but having a walk together, still enjoying. And, we might not see the same tree, but we can describe it
Yeah,
because I'm thinking trees because it's fall and I'm looking forward to the leaf change here in Minnesota,
I love
up
it.
where you are too, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, but making that time for those people is super important. Taking those pauses. Um, Talk about systems. When you talk about systems and, how did you develop your systems or what systems do you think are most critical to having?
Trial and error.
Okay, then.
Because honestly, every industry to me is very different. And I have, three companies in three different industries. And let me tell
Love
you,
potato chips.
yeah, or a glutton for punishment, one or the other. I'm not really sure at this point. But you know what? It does make your life very interesting. And I enjoy getting up in the morning because I really don't know what's going to happen every single day, you know, and it's fun. It's fun to be the troubleshooter. It's fun to solve problems for people, right? And it's fun to realize that you make a difference in someone's life, right? When you realize you make a difference in someone's life and you can do that day in and day out, that's a pretty powerful thing to help you move through every single day, no matter how hard it gets.
Yeah. In fact, in the uh, some webinar that I was on at 6 a.m. this morning, um,
Whoa.
hey, it was a spontaneous decision. But,
Okay.
it was literally, they said, the money is great, but eventually you get to a point when you realize the money means nothing compared to the impact you can have. And that's the one thing money is not evil. Money
Well,
provides the opportunity to do amazing, wonderful things for and with people in the world. But you
I
have it to do those things.
Yeah, and I think people too often chase money instead of chasing a dream. Chasing a dream, chasing a purpose, chasing a passion is something that I think is far more important than chasing money because money comes naturally from doing those three things.
Money is energy.
Yeah.
you know, and when you put the energy out there, and again, it may take a little bit, they say, I'm wondering if you have experience with this, but I had a business that closed in 2019, and they do say that it takes up to 5 to 10 years to bounce back from that, to get back to where you were. Now, not necessarily. I think some people can engineer things faster, but what do you have to say about that?
Um, so I haven't had to close a company, but I've come really close to wanting to close a company, right?
Fair
And,
enough.
and yeah, well, and MotoVixens was actually that company, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. And it came because, as you can imagine, being a female, right, in that industry, I'm one of very few,
Mm-hmm.
but I am also the only one that does this on the West Coast. So I'm the only person that has a track day organization on the West Coast. And when you are talking about doing business with individuals that have been in business with each other for many, many years, you're the new kid on the block and they want to take you out because they don't like change.
Mm-hmm.
Change in their mind isn't good. Now, change in my mind, no matter what, is great because it fosters, right, competition. Competition fosters then innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not game for that. So, you talked about being, hacked on Facebook. I had my entire Facebook, Instagram, everything taken down. So, you can imagine, and I'm not going to make an accusation, but it was perfect timing as to when it occurred, right? So you talked about being in Facebook jail. Do you know how hard it is to get out? It's almost impossible. And we fought. And the only reason I got lucky enough was I had a guy that I was working with, Jason Pridmore, who knew a woman that worked in corporate Facebook that helped get me out of
Wow.
jail.
Yes,
So,
I wasn't in jail. It
oh, I
was
was.
stolen. Yeah, no, I wasn't in jail.
Oh, I
My
know.
account was
Yeah.
actually stolen. Somebody else in another country
And
owned my
they were
account.
trying to extort you
Yeah,
for
they
money.
were
Yeah.
extorting.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which,
I heard that interview with you and I'm like, oh no, I was in Facebook jail. And
yeah.
that was that they literally would not post anything.
Wow.
And it was at the height of my season, meaning every announcement that I made on social media was for the purpose of let's say what's happening at the track, what time the gates open, what time, where you need to park, like all the things that people and clients required that need to be posted and seen were not seen.
Not on social media. They could go to a website, but a lot of people don't know where to go to a website without social media driving them there.
Easier for people to go social media because
It
people
is.
so
100%.
much, right?
A
So
lot.
it was an experience and a lesson for me that you got to be tougher and how badly do you want this, right? And I want it because I think I have been the longest standing person that has fought that particular institution as it stands for so many years now that if I went away, there would be no one to fight them. And
Mm.
that is very important to me because I don't want to leave this industry in the hands of individuals that have that much power and
Yeah.
won't wield it in a
And we're
kind.
talking back about MotoVixens now, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
So
I'm pretty sure we're not in luck with power against, the social media giants. But you,
no, 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 for sure, for sure. But I was very lucky at that moment, and I'm super grateful
yeah.
for having Jason reach out to the individual for
Oh,
us and
100%.
do this.
Yeah.
But it was really difficult to go through something like that and go, yeah, I want to keep going. Right?
So I don't know if you heard, I had my YouTube channel taken down at one point, which
Hmm.
immediately makes me sound like a horrible person because who gets YouTube channels taken? But really, there really wasn't a good reason. And ultimately, 10 months later, and I
Yeah.
appealed it a couple of times, but I didn't fight that hard. I just made something else work. I went on to Vimeo. I went and did other things, but YouTube is kind of a giant for drawing in new clients. And, so when they came back 10 months later and they said, "Oops, we're sorry. We didn't mean to do that," which
Yeah.
is actually the response I got.
Yeah.
It took me a full year after that to start engaging on YouTube again because
Yeah.
I was kind of butthurt.
Well, and I think there's a great deal of injustice, right? Like I feel like I'm like a justice queen, right? Because I really am looking for people to have fairness and equality through everything that we do. And when I said, like you said MotoVixens in saying exclusive, I am so not exclusive. It's all about inclusive. But I know with a name like MotoVixens, that's a little bit, yeah. Uh, yeah. For the reason I called it MotoVixens, just to be clear, was I'm a smartass and I thought it would be funny, right? And in the beginning, it actually worked against me because guys didn't understand that this was open to everyone. And in the beginning, it was just to intro women into motorcycling. I wanted to make it a friendly environment for them
Mhm.
because it is hugely intimidating if you've never been to the racetrack to
Okay.
ride the racetrack, right? Incredibly intimidating. And I found it for myself, it was like, I don't know if I belong here, right? But I think in believing that you do belong there and you work hard to belong there, right? You eventually create a space and the environment to allow and invite other women to be there. And I figured if I can do it and I can make it comfortable for them and they can see how wonderful this is and the community, once you get into the community, it's phenomenal. Like everybody wants to help everyone, right? So if you look at it from that standpoint, that's why I stayed, right? We had a lot of things we had to get through from, the misinterpretation of what MotoVixens meant, right? To now with the acceptance of so many women-owned businesses, it worked as a plus for us later. So sometimes things that don't work out in the beginning end up working out in the end. So, it just depends on how long or how much you want to persevere.
Yeah. Mission, vision, purpose. You have to have those things in front of you. I should share with you. Me being on the motorcycle, definitely not supposed to happen. I did once. I lived in
Oh
Sweden.
gosh. Yeah, okay.
And in Sweden, even then, and this is a long time ago, in the 1990, I'll get the year, you had to be completely clad in leather, all the way to your ankles. You had to wear a helmet, all the good stuff. I think all of that is brilliant. I think, for safety purposes. And finally, but I went on these rides and I was okay, but I wasn't even good at like leaning the way you're supposed to lean. Like, yeah, he'd lean, I'd go. Opposite. Like, go, let's keep this thing up.
You're
And
trying to counterbalance him.
counterbalancing all the time. He's like, stop it. Finally, he's like, well, you should try this thing. So without any idea what I was doing, I made it about 5 feet before I turned it into a bicycle rack and toppled the whole thing over and just that was it. That was the end of my having my hands on the gears.
Your own. I wish people would, when they start out, get on a dirt bike first,
Sure.
right? At least learn the basic functions and controls first,
Yeah.
right?
No,
And
this is a massive
oh,
bicycle.
no, no, no. And that's what I
I know,
mean
I know, I
is
know.
it
That's
doesn't help if you climb onto a leader bike the first time you've ever done anything. You want to talk about sending it, you'll send it for sure because you have zero idea, right? Of
Nope.
the touch for the throttle, everything. So
No way.
yeah, it's not a good idea.
Well, I'm just not a speed person. We went to a go-kart track one time. Go-karts. We're talking go-karts, right? Like a little track, go round and round, put, 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 put. And everybody would lap me every 2 laps. Because I was just happy. I'm
I'm
like,
just having fun. Yeah, yeah,
put, put,
yeah,
put, put. And everybody else like, "Arr!" I'm like, why? It's
yeah.
okay.
Oh, because boys are competitive. Oh, if you put my boyfriend in a, are you kidding? He doesn't do anything unless he knows he's going to win. That man will just, he will, yeah, he'll knock you sideways. He'll probably T-bone you. He'll do anything he can to win, you know? Oh, he's so hysterical. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I can't believe the time. We have been talking already for almost 45 minutes, which is amazing and lovely. But I want to make sure people who have engaged and listened to this, whether you're listening on the replay or whatever else, would you like to know more about this woman? So, Carol Carpenter, I'm not sure I said your full name towards
Yep.
the beginning,
Oh,
but
okay.
Carol Carpenter is my guest today, and she is truly fabulous. In fact, I think we should have you back for each of your businesses because this has
Oh,
been
Lord.
such a fun conversation. Do you want to give a quick, like, how can people find out more about you, learn about you, or engage with you? And really, who are you looking to engage with that might hear this podcast?
So Carol Carpenter Media, that gives everything you need to know about me and a way to contact me as well. And then we can, carry on a conversation. Anybody that is possibly interested in becoming an entrepreneur, maybe has some questions, maybe want some feedback or ideas or whatever, for themselves. Anybody that rides motorcycles, male or female. And yeah, anybody that needs anything media related. I mean, we do that as well. And again, that business actually came from, my journey of MotoVixens and getting it to the place it currently is.
Absolutely. And your favorite social media is?
Oh, either Facebook or Instagram, and
Okay,
it's MotoVixens.
got it. And are you on LinkedIn as well?
I am Carol Carpenter.
Because that's where we met.
That's where we met. Yes.
Excellent. Well, you know what? I have a favorite question to ask, and I ask it every single show I ever do. And we've had so much fun, it didn't even come up for me. So I'm going to go there right now, real quick.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to go back before medical school, before high school, before maybe, well, although you said it was since birth, but when you were, say, 8 or 9 years old, fourth grade-ish,
Mm.
not quite maybe babysitting, maybe though, because we weren't.
We did at that time. Yeah.
And but what did you do? What was your fun? Where was your imagination?
I drew a lot.
Okay.
And I always thought I was going to become an artist of some type, but my drawing eventually brought me into like drawing for fashion. And I really wanted to become a fashion designer when I grew up.
So you spent a lot of time in your room daydreaming.
Yep, pretty much. Pretty much. When I wasn't kicked outside to go play. But when I went to go outside to go play, I was also a tomboy. So that's also, one of those things where I grew up around boys. So
Yes.
it's no wonder I ended up, I guess, in the profession I am with the motorcycles because I'm yet surrounded by more boys, right? So I played football and basketball with all the boys growing up, and my sons, I had one that predominantly played basketball, one that predominantly played football, and we did that in the front yard and the backyard.
Hmm. But beyond the outside and the tomboy and the motorcycle part, you also said that you were somebody who would imagine and draw and create, and you still do that as well.
I am extremely lucky to be able to touch all those facets within me, right? Because you have that creative side, and I get to play around like with people's websites and stuff, I get to help them create what they are envisioning in their mind. It's a
Absolutely.
pretty cool way to make a living.
It is. Absolutely. Beautiful. Well, I was just looking, but I don't have my usual ending, so I'm just going to say thank you. Thank you so much. Any final word before we go?
No, if I could say something, it would be it's never too late to dream and to follow a dream.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Carol. Thank you so much for being here today. And on behalf of both of us, I will say to our audience, it's been great having you here too. So whether you're watching us live or you're watching a replay, do reach out to Carol Carpenter. She's offered the invitation. You know she's a tightly booked person, but if you think that there's something she could do, look up Carol Carpenter Media. Of course, you can find me at leannlion.com as well. Come on over. We do different things, different ways, but we both love entrepreneurship. And with Joyminder, you unleash your joyful business journey. So once again, I'd love to say thank you for being here. Come back next week and every week on Lead with LeAnn. We meet at 2 o'clock Pacific time every single week or so, except that, once in a while I take a week off because I can. And if you want a lifestyle that you can live on your terms, well, come talk to people like me. Come talk to people like Carol and find out what makes us tick. That's what the Lead with LeAnn podcast is all about. So tune in, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We'd love all that, of course. And we hope to see you really good soon on the next wave of your journey. Bye-bye.